to kind of give a description of what we're doing. Conversation within the culture is a platform that, provides positive feedback, and I do want to stress positive feedback because, sometimes we get on here and want to bash people and do some things, but gives positive feedback from influential people within the women's basketball community. Obviously, I feel like you're very influential, and I'll introduce myself. I want to kind of give you the floor to introduce yourself, what you do for my people that don't know who you are. For me, for your people who don't know who I am. My name is Kenny Pannell. Everybody knows me as KP. I'm originally from a very small town in Virginia called Hurt, Virginia. So to all my people from Virginia in here, thank you for joining us. I grew up playing in the dirt. Became, a halfway decent player. I could shoot the ball. I didn't have much athleticism, more like that. But then I went on to a college that was very, very good in girls basketball. I went to Old Dominion University in Virginia. And, after all that was over with, I moved to Delaware first, and I was in the insurance business for a long time. And then from the insurance business, I moved to New York to be kind of on Wall Street in a compliance standpoint. And as you know, sometimes that type of stuff will kill you, man. So you don't want to always be doing that type of stuff. So I came back to basketball, and I didn't really want to do women's basketball until Anton Marchand, who created Rose Classic, kind of introduced me to what it was and what it meant. And once you sit in that gym and see that the level of talent and the level of caring, you want to be part of it. So even with me, I started off being Anton's DJ.
Okay.
So, that was good, and I moved into, a more prominent role to where I am now, where I kind of, facilitate a lot of the recruiting, probably in New York to Canada, down to Virginia. I help a lot of girls out with their recruiting. I throw a big party at the Women's Final Four every year, which we have a great number of coaches come every year, and it's about relationships. So, even with you and I think we've been, friends now, probably maybe a year and a half.
Right.
We didn't really know each other. We knew each other from afar. I'd always admired what you did.
Thank you.
And
Same.
I think you're an integral part, especially in New York City, to what basketball was about. And you said some other things the other night, on our separate call, that you've helped girls get to the next level too. So if you can kind of tell people who you are, what you do.
Sure. Mark Williams, basketball trainer for the most part. Went to a small school up in Vermont. I graduated from a small school in Vermont, and then worked up there for 7 years, I do believe. 7 years. Last 5 as a college basketball coach. I coached at the college that I graduated from. So I was like 24, 25 when I started, and then I moved back to New York in like '99. Had my son, and then started working a real job. I became an associate director of admissions at Pace University up in Pleasantville. But I still, obviously, because I played basketball, I still had the bug. And then moved from there and went to Berkeley College in Manhattan. And then I just wanted to get back to the kids, so I became a DOE teacher, Department of Education. And then from there, I went to, I worked there for 15 years. And then I became like the JV basketball coach at August Martin High School, which at the time was probably one of the biggest names in New York City as far as basketball is concerned on the public school side. I became the JV coach to my man, Joel Asher, and he had like 11 straight city championships and a couple state championships in there also. So I became like the JV and like his apprentice, and I was going to take over the program. He left maybe like in 2008 or 9, he left, and then I took over the varsity level. He had a lot of connections in the back in the days, and that helped him.
All on the girls' side?
All on the girls' side.
Okay.
He had a lot of connections so he was able to feed the program for a couple of years, and then we dropped down to A level, and that's when I took over in A level, and then we just played very well, and then we moved back to AA, and then that's why I really cut my teeth in the PSAL AA and A level, and then I became a trainer. At that point, I then just started working out players, worked out my team obviously, and then we got a little better, and then word started spreading that I was training at August Martin High School, and then it blew up from there, and then manifested to where I am today. And then I retired in 2015 from the Board of Ed. This is my
little pension behind all of that.
Hey, I'm doing all right. And then so this is now my job, working on training all day, basketball all day. So that's where I am today.
Why did you stop coaching? What made you stop?
Well,
what made you give it up?
at that time, the DOE was under transition from our school was actually failing academically, which obviously hurt me as far as quote unquote recruiting, quote unquote. Because the players obviously cared about academics more so than athletics, which is fine, and that's supposed to. So that hurt me. So we closed down. We became under the state regime, and then that whole shift. And then I was already tired, and I was done, and I just decided to move on and just retire and put all my chips in, and then that's why I just left.
Do you miss it at all? Do you want to go back?
Nah. I like waking up when I want to wake up, doing what I want to do. But I left it I was like the AP security of the building. So pretty much I was, in addition to being like the basketball coach and the athletic director. So I was pretty much doing a lot, and it really took a lot of time out of me, and I was like really bogged down mentally and physically, and then on top of that, trying to build a company with my partner Tylik Brown, and then I just couldn't do it. So I'm happy that I got probably one of the best decisions of my life.
Okay, tell me a little bit of why you built the company, what your goals were, how you came about it, who were your first type of clients. Tell me a little bit about that stuff.
The first type of clients, they were word of mouth, and they primarily were through Tylik. And luckily, I trained Tylik when he was trying to get back into it and go back overseas and stuff like that. He was a McDonald's All-American, UConn legend. He's currently an assistant coach up there. But what made me get into it, I seen that there was a lack of fundamentals in all the players. There was a lot of players, there was a ton of players, but they just lacked a lot of fundamentals. And being that I played basketball, I don't know how many of the head coaches that are currently coaching right now actually played, but I was one of the few that I thought that actually played, and I was able to impart that knowledge back on the players. So that was the premise. And then pros started coming through. A lot of pros started coming through, and then it just started blowing up. And then to the point where luckily August Martin had 2 gyms. So we were able to train in one gym and then hoop in the other gym. So we were big into hooping at that time. So we train and then we hoop. Like that's the biggest thing we thought was the best formula. So that was basically the premise of the whole thing.
That's what's up. Because one thing we always have a problem with in New York City is gym time, gym space.
Yep.
I want to just give a shout out to people who gave me these type of platforms. Obviously, I mentioned Anton, Pannell of Rose Classic. What people don't know is he's really the godfather of this basketball stuff in New York City. Also, people know me from May Hoop, so I want to give a shout out to Chad and what he's built from the EYBL, even from a slam standpoint. He has such good relationships, and him being involved with EYBL has helped me tremendously. Become kind of who I am, and a lot of people don't know what I do because I'm like you. I try to stay under the radar because oftentimes we need to put the women in the forefront of this stuff because we want those little girls to see that they can succeed and become people like us. I always consider myself like Uncle KP, and I'm sure you're the same cousin Mark, whatever. That we can help these young ladies and that's what I strive to do. I know, from what I've seen, what you've done in the last years, you've done such a great job doing a lot of that stuff. What also people don't know is you have your own podcast, and I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you laugh. When you asked me to do your podcast, I felt like I had arrived.
Oh, really?
I seriously felt like I had arrived because, again, I don't say much about some of the things I do. So that tells me, people like you recognize, some of the things I've done in the community. So that made me feel so good. And as we saw by the numbers, everybody from my hometown looked at it.
Yeah, they love that.
Everybody I went to college with looked at it. Everybody I knew from Delaware looked at it. We had such a great following of that. So I want to say thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And I like that a lot of people didn't even know. Sometimes my own parents don't know what I'm doing. And listen, my mom signed up for Instagram tonight. To see this. So that's real good. Tell us about your podcast. Tell us about some of the people you interviewed. You do such a great job at it. I think people need to know more about it. They go back and see some of the things you've done.
Yeah, well, I'm not a trained interviewer, so I just come at it from the standpoint of I'm a regular person, and it's just so fortunate because I played and I've been training for so long. I know a lot of people, and I just felt like some of these stories needed to really get out there. And I think I was on the cusp, on the forefront of actually, doing the podcasting from our standpoint. I'm not saying like on the national level, Joe Rogan and those guys, but like on our level. And I just felt some of the stories needed to be heard. And I think that people such as yourself, Anton, I interviewed a couple NBA coaches. And the premise of that was basically because New York City is considered the Mecca, and I think that has lost some of its luster. And I just wanted to highlight the people behind the scenes that's getting stuff done, that people need to understand that stuff is really getting done from the New York standpoint. So I have the Mecca podcast, like I mentioned. I have a couple of NBA coaches, yourself, and these people are basically influencing the culture. And then also do a thing called the Curator Series, and that's basically for people that's not necessarily on that level, but that are moving up to that level, maybe up and coming people. And I've interviewed Ms. Jones, Shanae Jones, Justin Brightway at Humble Development, Raphael Edwards. You guys may not know these people, but these are people that are on the come up. And the premise of that is obviously to expose these guys because they're the next generation coming up. So again, I'm not a trained interviewer. It's just more so to give these guys an opportunity and to get their name out there and people know who they are.
Yeah, hey, listen, same with me. This whole Instagram thing is new to me.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to take advantage of this because usually I do a lot of things at the Women's Final Four. I'm able to talk to coaches. I'm able to, help some of the kids. Well, obviously this year we couldn't do that. So
right.
I see we have some coaches in here. Obviously during the week we'll have some high level, AAU coaches, high school coaches talking about some of the things they have. Some of the kids that are still available because that recruiting doesn't stop.
Right.
It definitely doesn't stop. And what I see is New York has a lot of talent that people don't know about. But so in your opinion, tell me what are we missing? What can we do better in New York City? What can the girls do better? What is missing in New York City?
Like I mentioned, the Mecca podcast. The premise for that is just to highlight the players to get us back to that Mecca status. I think we have very good basketball players. We have very good pieces here in New York City. I'm not sure if we still have the dogs that we once had, and I don't know if the system is allowing us to do such. I think what gets in the way of it, and this is instant truth, I think that the adults are actually in the way of the kids moving forward. And I say that, and I'm coming at it with an egoless standpoint and nothing to gain, nothing to lose, to be honest with you. So I have no skin in the game, is your phrase that you like. So I think the adults are actually in the way. And I'm luckily enough, some of the kids that we've trained are now professionals. So I have a West Fork team, and I think Janice had a basketball tournament, and we put the teams in that, and we did fairly well. But I'm looking at all the players and the talent that's there, and it's not being manicured and cultured and curated to the point where we need to be exposed to the nation, because we really have a lot of talent. I just think that the adult's ego would really get in the way and F things up.
Well, it's more than the ego, because I deal with it from a different point of view when I'm trying to help the kids. They see the name on the shirt, they see the UConns and the Notre Dames of the world, and they see some of the kids that they feel like, hey, maybe she should be going to Notre Dame or UConn, and I should. Well, it's not all about the name on the shirt.
Right.
One of the things I always say is, girls basketball, yeah, there are pro opportunities, but there's no pro NBA money.
Right.
The ultimate goal is for you to go somewhere and get an education, whether that's free, partially free, or just for the love of the game. I always say, use basketball. Don't let basketball use you. And you said something very important. You and I don't have any skin in the game.
Right.
I don't have a daughter. I have a son. I think you have a son.
Right.
We don't have daughters that play basketball. My son is just starting to learn how to play basketball. But we don't have any skin in the game. So we always tell the truth.
Right.
And that's sometimes these kids and their parents, they keep going to people until they hear yes.
Right. I think
this is the way you should go.
I think and I do it in the comedic way. I think that, but this is a true story. I level the bum level. I call all my players bums, and I think that to the point where I have bums, and that's for middle school kids. Stellar bums are high school kids. Super bums are college kids, and then mega bums, which are professional. And that's primarily just to keep everybody on the status quo, because some of these, they're getting filled with so much ego boosting that they forget that unless a kid is grabbing every rebound, unless a kid is making every shot, there's still more work to do. And I think that that also falls on the coach's standpoint too. Remember, I coach on a collegiate level, so I kind of have a little more insight than most as far as knowing what's needed from the training standpoint. And then I see how the kids are going through the navigation, and it's really hard. And I really feel sorry for some of the kids because they're getting railroaded in certain aspects. And I think that's something that we need to talk about, not necessarily the problems, but how we're going to come up with solutions to solve that.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things is trying to come up with the right solutions, and sometimes they even got layers to the kid. Even when I'm trying to help a kid, I got to go. I'll get a call from the parent, then I'll get a call from the high school coach, then I'll get a call from the AAU coach, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not dealing with everybody.
Right.
I'll deal with the parent, and if the parent doesn't understand, then let's go, because ultimately it's that kid and that parent's decision on what they're going to do.
Right.
And that's whether they go play high school ball, whether they go play AAU ball, where they go to college at, even where they go to high school. So that's one of the biggest things that I've seen in the girls' space. That on the boys' side, there's always been handlers, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. Now we're starting to see it on the girls' side. Like everybody is claiming to have this kid. Well, in New York City, we need to come to a conclusion that all of those kids are all of ours.
Right.
All of those kids.
Yeah.
Let's not say just because you play for XY high school or AAU team that another AAU team or high school team can't help you.
Right. I think, and
it's about relationships.
I agree with that, and I also agree that although we're telling the kids that we need to be honest with them, we're trying to be honest with the kids. We need to be honest with ourselves. And I'm not knocking any programs or anything like that. I'm just choosing a name. Program X may not be the same as Program Y. And I think at some point we as adults need to put these, not necessarily put them in that position, but remind them that you may want, here's a perfect example. I have my classes, and each class has a description, and every parent says when they start out, I want to train with the best. I said, listen, I understand that. You have to walk before you run. And my example would always be RIP Kobe Bryant. I would say I would love to train with Kobe Bryant, but everyone's not on that level. We have to work our way up. And I'm not saying that. I think we need to define levels in the AAU circuit in New York City to better fit players that we can promote in New York City, because it's players that really need that push that's not on that highest level, but that's damn nice, and that we need to push them, and we need to get behind them as a group collectively and move those young ladies to the next level, because there's some players that it's sad sometimes that we have a PSA or unsigned every year in 2020, and it's packed, it's packed, and it's not that these kids aren't good, they're just not being seen and not being pushed, particularly in the PSAL, which has been in a situation where things aren't moving as smooth and as fast as they need to for an organization such as large.
Yeah, I spoke to Brenda Morgan about that. She's going to appear on here at some point. She wants to improve it, and that's a step in the right direction. How we improve it, that's something that I'll have to lean on you about, because I always want to talk to people who don't have skin in the game.
Right.
Because as soon as you have skin in the game, whether it's AAU, it's your child, or high school, you're going to have somewhat of a biased opinion.
Right. That's true.
I do lean on certain people for certain ideas. Joanne's of the world, Shanae, came with some great ideas. Mike Toro, Gowdy, who's kind of responsible for us putting a lot of this together. Those are the type of guys, that they believe in what we do.
Right.
And that's important too. You have to believe in what we do and what our relationships mean to people. I mean, listen, we got almost 70 people in here tonight.
Oh, really?
Off of a day just advertising this, and this is something I want to continue to do with different people. I definitely want to get you back on here at some point again, but just to kind of continue what we're talking about. Tell me who you think is more important, the AAU coach or the high school coach, or always both?
I think it's a combination of both. I think that, but with credit comes blame too. I think that both parties got to be willing to take the blame for situations also. But I think at the end of the day, it's a collective unit. The old African proverb, it takes a village. I think that kids need to be, Ms. Jones look like somebody just read my mind, need to be supported from the bottom all the way to the top. And I think what happens is the AAU and the high school coach usually have some type of friction for whatever reason, and that's the ego thing getting involved. And I'll say this, as I got older, my ego got lower. And
Absolutely.
So if back in the days, if I bumped into somebody in the hallway or in the store, it's going to be a fight. Now, you got it. And I think that's where we all need to be at, because what ends up happening is the high school coach is fighting the AAU coach. The AAU coach is trying to get the parents, they're butting heads, and it's not conducive for the supportive environment, particularly for the kid who's 14 years old, 15 years old. And I work with boys and girls. They don't know shit at this particular time right now, so they're just leaning on the adults.
Absolutely.
They're leaning on the adults, and the adults are fighting and bickering, and we're not supporting. For instance, I'm not choosing this program. Just if a young lady plays for Clutch, I'm just choosing them because they hit me up early today. Clutch, and we gotta support that player, whoever that girl is. We gotta support her, because she may outgrow Clutch, because that happens. Clutch gotta let go to Clutch and let her move on. But at the end of the day, we have to support that girl as she moves up, so that now she can reach the All-American status that because we had last 5-6 years girls that have made All-American status, whether it's McDonald's and or Jordan, and McDonald's girl games, and we come back to New York and it's like nobody's really pumping these young ladies. Like, we should really put them on a pedestal to a certain degree, because that's going to inspire the next generation of girls coming up.
It's the egos and the jealousies that get in the way.
Right, and I said I don't want to dominate the whole thing, but I know that one time I'm in
Speak, brother. You're preaching right now.
I'm in the gym, and a young lady that I'm training, she had a signed T-shirt from one of the girls that I trained that she saw like 2 hours before, and I called the girl that I said, "Yo, you ain't gonna believe this. This young lady has your T-shirt on right now. It's signed." That girl was, and I FaceTimed her. That girl got so elated. I never seen her work as hard as she possibly can that particular day. I was like, oh shit, like this girl, I'm not gonna say her name, really inspired this other young lady. And I think we're missing that, because there's no connection, and we don't have that type of pipeline to really influence the next generation. Because there's a lot of good girls. That 2022 class is crazy. And I think that we need to have these 2019s and the 2020s come back and kind of bring them back, and then get back to where we need to be.
Absolutely. They need to be mentored, that's why, one thing we were on that Zoom call the other night, I didn't realize you had so many relationships. And one thing I don't think a lot of people know is our relationship. So I'll kind of speak on mine. Obviously, I probably know 90-95% of college coaches in the country, just because, number one, I throw that party at the Women's Final Four, and number two, just from, I sent girls from everywhere, and sometimes this is the joke. I sent a kid to Jacksonville. Well, the first thing people started asking me was, "Is Jacksonville Division I?"
Right.
So that means, number one, they're not educated. Number two, they don't have the proper resources to go talk to somebody to get that help.
Right.
Luckily, some of the guys I've been around and dealt with, they know what I do, but even me, I didn't realize you had so many connections. I know the South Alabamas of the world. I know the Jacksonvilles of the world. I know the Jacksonville States of the world. Talk about some of your relationships, how you developed them. What are you doing to keep those relationships?
Well, again, luckily I've coached on the women's side, and I played obviously on the men's side. So I know the guys that are currently the assistant coaches and moving up, because I played against them. Not that I was on their level, but I played against. I was all right, But from the young lady side, I fostered those relationships, because the players that have come to us have actually gotten better. And I'll address that moving forward. But as more so, I have a coaches clinic, and I did it last year, and I want to thank St. Francis Prep for hosting us. And basically, I had 6 or 7, major D1 schools come down and just speak to the other coaches in the community, because they need to foster those relationships. And when those relationships are part of them being able to grow, they feel like they involved. So I try to create a synergy between college coaches and high school coaches here in New York City. And that seemed to go off really well, and it was free. I did it for free out of my pocket. And I do a lot of free stuff, primarily because I know a lot of money's not flowing as it once was. And money shouldn't be a way to stop somebody from learning and doing stuff. I attended a lot of Nike clinics and stuff like that. That really helped me, and I just want to give back. Yeah, that's basically it. So I know a couple people. I'm probably, again, ego is gone. I have no ego. I know a couple people. That's all we need to know.
And again, I didn't even know about the coaches clinic. You know, I would love to be able to help you with those type of things. Obviously, I know some people. We probably know a lot of the same people
Right.
that we can.
Right. Uh-oh. KP's
Keep going. We can really create something that's special and school some of these young coaches and school some of these older coaches. Maybe they can learn some things that they never knew. Definitely, you know, I'm not a coach. I don't try to be a coach.
Right.
I'm not a trainer. I don't try to be a trainer. And sometimes that gets in the way too. Some people need to learn more before they can become a real certified coach.
I think
you have to put the work in.
I think what needs to happen in addition to that is people need to define their role, just like on a team, define their role and be a star in their role. So if I'm a trainer, my role is to train. That's it. I may, do events or whatever moving when I get old, but right now it's strictly train. If somebody's an evaluator, he or she should just evaluate. If someone's an AAU coach, he or she should just be an AAU coach. It's just the lines get blurred and to the point where people now don't know who's who and they get a little confused. So I think that in addition to that, then what ends up happening is that I've been fortunate enough, and I give shout out to Joe, primarily because Joe at NYG Hoops, because he has me do some of his events, and I see these kids from like 3rd grade to 8th grade. They nice as shit, right? They skilled, they could do everything. Only thing they lack, they haven't really played a lot yet because they're young, and nobody goes to the park anyway. We know that. But from 8th grade to 9th grade, 9th grade to high school, they're pretty much the same players they were 8th and 7th grade, and that's kind of alarming to me. It's like something's amiss, whether they're not getting what they need. And I'm not blaming anyone. I just, again, as a collective, maybe the person that was rebounding for them when they was growing up is not rebounding for them anymore, their mom or their pop. So they're not really relying on mom and pop anymore. They're more so thinking about just the high school thing, and that's really gets, again, gym time is rare in high school level. So I think that they miss out a lot, and it's kind of sad, but still in all, that's where we are, I think.
No, that's definitely where we are, and like I said, gym time is hard to get in New York City, and nobody really plays in the park anymore. I mean, there's our summer tournaments. Obviously, I'm involved with one Conrad McCray that we have a girls division, and we see some of those little girls come in, and we're like, wow, these little girls still want to play, but sometimes they don't have an avenue. And I think, again, that goes back to people don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So we definitely need to create some type of platform where people can get educated on, who does what tournaments, who does what training, So speaking of that, tell me who you kind of market to now with your training. What age group? Does it matter? Is it pros? And
I'm a preach what I'm a speak what I preach. I'm not great at every avenue of basketball. Like I'm not good I'm okay. I can do it. 6th grade down. I kind of get a little bored. That's not my strength. That's why I have a staff, and Marquis Alexander on our staff does a great job, and Charles Jones do a great job with that group. I'm 7th in high school and pro. Like that's where I'm able to excel. And again, I know my strengths, and I'm hoping and imploring all the adults to know their strengths so that we can move this thing forward. And so me training a 3rd graders, I'm not, that's just not my strength. And I'm honest. I'm honest. So that's where we are. So I market to the kids that want to get better. Obviously, I train a lot of the top players on the girls. Not as many on the boys, primarily because the boys are more. Their AAU scene there's more people. The handlers take over on the boys because they think there's a check involved. So that's pretty hard to get into the top level. But I've been fortunate enough to work with some NBA guys. People out of state call me to train some of the NBA guys to get ready for pre-draft stuff. So I'm lucky enough to be in that position. That's basically it. I'm just out here. But I want to go back. I have a free thing, and actually, Aaliyah Lewis and Amani Tatum, they actually helped me with this, and Daniel Patterson. We do like a free play pickup in the park, and we went to every borough, and we had just come down and hoop. Just come down and hoop. Every borough we did Staten Island, Manhattan, Brooklyn. We didn't do the Bronx and Queens. And basically what we did is, and Joanne helped me out because it rained and we used her gym. We just had kids just come down, sign up, and you just hoop. The first 5 came in, that's your team. Go figure it out. Next 5 came in, that's your team. Go figure it out. Try to bring back the old park thing, and I wasn't calling no fouls. You had to call your own fouls. And I just sat in the corner. That's right. So if you have a team of 5-5s, and the other team that you're going against was 6-6, you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out. So
that's how we came up.
That's how you learn. So
you better have a good 5, or you're gonna be sitting for 2 or 3 hours.
That's right. So it was the call next. The next in this case, I didn't do call next. I didn't want to start them like that. So you had to sign. Once you lost, you had to come sign the book. Now that's the next 5. So, and that's basically what we're doing.
What is that called, Mark? What's that called?
We called it.
We're gonna do that again?
Yeah, we're gonna do it every once this whole situation we're in right now. We did it the last week of August. We did August 19th to the 24th, I think it was, because nothing going on. Kids are getting ready for school shopping and stuff like that. So we did that, and it's just called Pick Up in the Park. We did that, and we just basically, we actually have an Instagram page called Pick Up Hoops with a Z, and it's just we highlight the kids that came through and just hoop. And then that's in addition to my college run. The college run is invite only. So if you're not nice, don't think about getting on the list. No, if you got to be ill.
So tell me a little bit more. See, again, these are things I didn't know existed in the culture. So tell me a little bit more about your college run. You know, what type of girls you get to come back, Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, all of them. Tell me
high levels, then Division 1, Division 2, all the way to Division 3, but you had to be really, really nice, and they mostly pros. So, for instance, I'll throw a name out. Aaliyah Lewis, Jade Walker, some of the St. John's girls, some of the Hofstra girls, they would come back, and some of the college girls that were home for Session 1 and Session 2 for summer school, they would come hoop. And I invited 15 3-point guards, 3 shooting guards, 3 small forwards, 3 power forwards, 3 centers, and we just hooped. And I had maybe like 2 or 3 high school girls that were elite. They came through and they got busy also. So I've had Emily Inksler in there. Elmcore. Elmcore, R.I.P. Dave Edwards. I'm gonna miss you. So I rented Elmcore, and that was free to the kids also, for the players. So I had Denasia Grant, Jade Walker, Emily Inksler, Tucson, Boogie, Grace Stone. The high school girls is like I think Paris came through, Nat came, Natalia Marshall came through, Dom Darius came. That type of level player, like it was Michaela Scarlett came through. That type of player, and I think that's big because it's pickup, it's organic. They figure the shit out. They figure stuff out on their own, and it's
Hey, my mom alright, man. She in here, she alright.
So it's so I had the top players, and they're pulling the young ladies over to the side and just saying, listen, this is what you need to do. This is what you do. Kenya Pollock, Amani Tatum, all of those players. And then I also use it as an opportunity to get my West 4th team in shape too. So that's another reason for it. But it was all free for the kids.
You're giving them that platform to kind of mentor some of these young girls too.
Yeah.
Like again, that's something we all, especially from a New York City community, basketball community, we all need to be involved with.
Yeah.
Again, if we don't know, we don't know. So I'm glad to hear that that you're doing these type of things, and I'm definitely going to try to support what you do.
Appreciate
that's an offline conversation that we'll have. But we got a lot of these girls who come down from Canada just to stay here for the summer too. So it'd be a good opportunity for some of them to play. I see a lot of my Canada guys in here too, so I'm sure they'll speak on that on Thursday. But they always want to come and just get a good run.
And just hoop.
If nothing else.
Just hoop.
Let's just hoop. And that's good old fashioned basketball right there. You call your own fouls.
Just hoop.
What you do. Tell me how you've been keeping busy just through this pandemic, and what you've been doing with some of your clients and things of that nature.
Well, luckily through technology, I've been able to do some Zoom classes with just straight ball handling, and I'm actually I do it in either my backyard or my living room when it rains. And that's been going well, particularly our second class, which is the older class. So I'm able to really get into that bag, and it's not a lot of, there's no tennis balls, none of that stuff. It's just basic moves. Again, I'm coming from the college coaching standpoint, the high school coach standpoint, so I know all of that stuff is not real. Although Shamgar is my cousin, I'm not going to do a Shamgar ever in my life. That's basically it. So I do that. I do the Zoom classes maybe like twice a day. And then other than that, I'm on the couch watching TV. Yeah. And I work out every morning, just running and jogging. And stuff.
How can some people get a hold of you if they want to, participate in some of this? What are you doing with it?
Yep.
Again, I got, some girls who reached out to me. I'm telling you, I'm not a trainer. I'm not trying to be a trainer.
Right.
I'm enough time with an 8-year-old in my house.
Yeah, I know. You can follow us on Team Footprints. You can hit us on Train by Yourself. Oh, let me talk about that. Train by Yourself basically is 20 years ago I didn't exist. 10 years ago I didn't exist, maybe. 15 years ago I didn't exist. So I think a lot of stuff that we do, and I'm not pompous enough to believe that I invented basketball. My name is James Naismith. It was more so along the lines of some of the stuff that we do, you can do on your own. It's just that you don't have that person in your ear telling you to go harder and do this particular thing. So we have a Train by Yourself page, and you just go there and you just look at drills that I put up, and I'm on there every day. Right now we're focusing on the parents of our trainees, trying to get those guys in shape because they be complaining about their kids aren't going hard. So I'm yelling at them to go hard also. So that's Train by Yourself on IG. Then we have the Pick Up Hoops, which is highlighting some of the players that are come to our runs. And that's Pick Up Hoops with a Z, and then of course Team Footprints. So I try to do a lot. I'm taking advantage of the social media stuff and trying to expand out the whole scope and ecosystem of basketball. And again, I work with both females and males.
Training with the pick on. That's
Train,
my question.
Train by Yourself?
Yeah, the parents. You said you were doing some.
Yeah, that's funny. One of the parents just texted me and they said that they couldn't finish the drill. Hey, it was simple. It was 10 squats, 10 squats. But still, I'm happy for them. At least they're trying. At least they're trying to get moving.
No, it starts in the home, man. It starts with the parents, and obviously we're part of an African American community where sometimes we put sports and entertainment before anything. Mm-hmm. But you touched on something, working hard. I mean, all that stuff takes hard work.
Right.
So even with me doing this, I told my son, I'm doing this to bring an awareness to the community, but I got to work hard on it. I got to sit down here and write out questions. I got to sit down.
That's a lot of work.
Come up with
the interview stuff is hard.
I got to call people to be on here, and luckily we've been somewhat successful with people wanting to jump on here and talk and do some things. And
KP, hold on one second. Let me get my charger. Hold on, KP.
Okay. While we're waiting on Mark, if anybody has any questions, hi Mom, I see you in here. Miss Bonnie Pannell, Sis Bon Don, to everybody else. Thanks all the people who sat through this. Again, we're all in the house, so this gives a good way to talk about the culture. We're going to have some outstanding guests on here, every night about 9 p.m. So if you're free, definitely come in and listen to some of the stuff we're talking about.
Okay, I'm back.
Got it. So yeah, talk about some of your pros. So what you do with some of the pros. How is it different? You're training with your pros versus your training with a 10th grader.
The 10th grade, I basically asked them simply where you're going to get your shots from. I do it with the pros also, and what does the coach want you to do on the high school level, and then I project where he or she may be moving forward. So I try to mix it up. I know that one of the players that I had, she was known as a pretty good shooter from the perimeter, but on the college level they probably gonna want her to bang a little bit. So we did a lot of shooting a little bit, and then we did more banging stuff that she's gonna be able to do. And your mom is listening, all right?
Yeah, she's good.
All right, so
my mom knows all about this stuff.
Okay, so when I do the one-on-ones in the small groups, I get out there and I kind of fuck them up a little bit, only because that's what they're going to get in college. They're not going to get it in high school. High school they call it ticky-tacks, but in college they don't call as much. So I try to really get involved and try to help them out. physically, because most of the players aren't necessarily physically strong. So that's the 10th grader, 11th grader, 12th grader, and then when they get to the pro level, it's even dumb. It's dumbed down all the way down. It's like one dribble pull up, two dribble pull ups, get to the basket, take the contact, finish into a jump shot. A lot of conditioning. Same question: where you getting your shots from? What do you plan to do as far as moving to the next level? Because a lot of people in the high school, they end up playing bigger than they actually are. So you may be a 3 really, but you're playing 4 in high school. So now I got to get you back down to a 3. So I'm really trying to work on you off the dribble stuff and stuff like that. That's basically it.
No, that's good stuff, Mark. Again, if you had any advice to give, some of the listeners, some of the parents, some of the coaches,
Mm-hmm.
some of the, the student athletes on here, what would be some advice you would give them?
Parents, stay in control. Stay in control of your son or daughter's situation. Be involved as much as possible. Stay informed. Learn as much as you can of the business and watch the particular people, because people have obviously agendas that they need to fulfill. And then once you start, don't ever stop rebounding for your son or daughter if you can physically get out there, because that's what made them the player that they are. One thing I don't lay claim to any player, because I didn't make any player but one, and his name is Jelani Williams, and that's my son. So I think that's important that parents don't forget that what made that player get to where they are is you being involved. Players, particularly the high school players, you think you're working hard now, but you're going to figure out how really hard you need to work when that first day in college, when you when you no longer that nice, the best player, and you gotta. There's a lot of stuff that goes involved. It's not hazing, but there's a lot of ish going on, and you have to really, really go hard and stay at the doghouse. Continually work hard in your game and figure out what you can do well and make that the best thing that you can do. Handlers, stop. Do what's best for the kid, not for you. AAU coaches, keep pushing the narrative that get these kids to scholarship levels, but don't be in a position where you think that you're in control of their livelihood, because that's their parents' job. If the parents anoint you to be that person, then so be it, but keep developing. High school coaches, you keep developing as a coach, first and foremost, so learning certain things. Put the kid in a position where he or she's going to be college ready, because once they get to college, they got a year. If they can't figure it out in a year, they getting shipped up out of there in some way, shape, or form. And then you also high school coach, skill development. Don't lose sight of skill development, and don't lose sight of skill development and conditioning. I think it's important that your kid's in great shape, and he or she can make a left-hand layup all the time with contact. It saddens me sometimes when I get a kid that comes in the program and say that they work with this person and that person, and they can't make a layup, and they have them going off the wrong foot, and they can't do it. They're switching the ball back to their right hand, and it's like a little confusing. So, practice what you preach and do what you got to do. I've seen a couple of questions come through. For evaluators, be honest. Stop being bull crapping just to get likes and views and stuff like that. What other avenue? Event planners.
Let me piggyback off of some of that too.
Let me hit the event planners first. Do something big in New York where we don't have to go down to She-Got game. Not knocking them. Go to different places and do something here in New York, because there's enough talent here in New York City that we can bring everybody here to New York City. Okay, go. I'm sorry.
No, let me kind of piggyback. Parents, one thing I've always told, especially my people in Canada, your AAU coach and your high school coach, they both need to have a plan. What is your plan? Have them write out you a plan. Hey, we think your son or daughter is this level and can be at this level. But here's the plan to get even better, because then you determine whether the kid really wants to play basketball for education, or if they just doing it to socialize with their friends and be around people. Students, you said it more times than any. Hard work, that's a skill.
Yeah, nowadays, yeah.
People don't understand hard work is a skill set. I've seen kids go to college off of just working hard. They didn't have a jump shot, really couldn't do, but they hustled, they got rebounds, they did all of that. Another another thing for you students, stop looking at the name on the shirt all the time.
Right.
When you're looking at colleges and when you're looking at universities, you know, you can get a great education from Southwest Oklahoma State.
Right.
And come back and live a great life.
Right,
you
agree.
You just said you went to a small school in
Vermont.
Look at you. I mean, you're here with me. I went to Old Dominion University. A lot of people never heard of that either. So we didn't have the UConns and the Notre Dames of the world. Coaches always be willing to learn.
Yeah.
You never stop learning. I'm one of those guys. Always be willing to learn. If you so high with your ego that you feel like somebody can't tell you, something, then there's the issue, because that portrays back down to the parents, that portrays back down to the student athletes also.
Agreed.
Evaluators, I'm agreeing with you. I'm an evaluator, and you gotta tell these kids the truth, man. I mean, they're gonna keep going until somebody tells them something different. Right. But you have to keep your integrity, and I think you and I, that's how we built our reputations, our integrity and telling people the truth. Event planners, I think you kind of took a shot at us on that one. I'll take it. That's something, Joe and I, me being, part of Rose Classic, part of what Mike Toro's doing, we all need to get together and develop something so these teams don't have to always go out of town. I think it's good they go out of town. Because you get a different type of experience, but we can always bring those people back here too. Right. So it's we have so many opportunities here in New York, and let's be honest, people want to come to New York. It may be expensive, but they want to take that once in a lifetime chance to come to New York and see some things they've never seen. Right. So we definitely need to create a platform where they can see what New York is about, what New York basketball is about. I said something the other night. When we were coming up, we thought, Gaucho's Riverside, we don't want no parts of them. Yep. Because it was that aura that they had, that they always produced pros, they always produced the highest level of kids. That's kind of gone away now. Now the Georges of the world, the Virginians of the world, the Marylands of the world, they say, we can come up here and kick y'all ass. Yeah, and I think someone, actually, it might have been Natalia Marshall, she said, why doesn't New York support New York? I think that's kind of, it's true that those areas feel that they could come up here and get busy with us in our home. We have to come together and just say that that's not going to happen. I know that there's been a time where New York supported New York. I think we have to do a better job of supporting New York. New York has to support New York, meaning that we have to then have all of our pieces put the best foot forward to bust their ass. Excuse my French, your mom. I hope, and that's just a New York pride in me. And I think that if we had the New York pride, like we can be. It's like having your sister or your brother, your sibling. We can fight with each other inside the house, but when we outside the house, we're collective. We're Voltron. We're one. I think sometimes and that's us too. That's us also. And that's what we do. We fight each other instead of building something that's great. And but what happens is we bring our beef with each other to the public. Now it looks like we're disjointed and not together. And so, because we're not running in the same ship, the same stream, we're actually going against each other on certain occasions. So that it looks bad to the rest of the world. I think that if everyone had everyone aligned to the same thing, and we're honest with each other, and positive, and supported one another, we'll be able to push, create a McDonald's All American. We may know that she or he may not be that ill, but we got so much push behind them and so much power, and we're in New York. Just moving forward. Just keep them. Yeah. And I totally agree, Mark. I want to say thank you for taking your time out. Obviously, I want to do this with you again. Sure. We're going to continue. Sure. We ain't got nothing else to do. Yeah. I have nothing else to do. Again, I want to thank some of the guys who provided. This came from these conversations came very organically from Gowdy, myself, and Mike Toro just. On here, just joking around, talking about music, actually, and it turned into what girls basketball can be, and then you guys chimed in, and I just think this is good for the community. This is a great stepping stone for what we all want to do together, and this brings us all together. So again, thank you, brother, for taking the time out to be on here, and let's do this again. Yeah, and I want to bring up, when we do bring it up, and maybe you could bring it up with Joanne, and I think who else? Thomas, maybe. Is Joanne this week.
there's a couple elephants in the room that we need to address. Is where we may be pricing the kids that don't have it, the lower socioeconomic out, because of the prices are just elevated so much, and the players that we have may not be able to afford certain things, and those players are the nice ones. You know, they're the dogs that we may be looking for, but they don't have the same situation, and they're not in a position. We can't leave them behind. We can't leave them behind.
I'm gonna dig into them AAU coaches and them high school coaches. I'm gonna dig in them a little bit.
Well, handle your business.
Where their head is. You know, if you got some questions that you can help me with them, definitely let me know. But again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, we're gonna do this every night about the same time, 9 p.m. This is something special, I think, and this is something that can grow. So, again, I appreciate you. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy. Be safe, everyone. Be safe.